This video will show you how to record the information in the records once you have chosen a batch. Common records to index are marriage, birth, death, military, census, naturalization, and more. Make your choice and get started. Okay, we have this batch up here for indexing, and this is what it looks like when it comes into it, and you can't read it. You say, well, how can I index it? You use this little tool up here to zoom in, and you want to make sure that you can actually see it and see that there is something that needs to be indexed. It's going to ask you, should this image be indexed? And it comes up with yes. Your choices are yes or no extractable data, but we do know that we can see that there is records that need to be indexed. So we're going to leave it at yes and say next. Now it comes up with all of these different fields. And I like to use this little bar and put it up here and keep it where I am at. It really helps when you have a list of things to have this little magic ruler that helps you keep track of where you're at. So it says grantor's given name, and here I'm going to type in Allen and the last name, the surname, and I have kind of a hard time seeing it, so I'm going to blow it up a little bit more and put in King Yan is what it looks like. And sometimes this might be a corporation, and then you wouldn't fill this out, you would fill this out here. So on this one I'm going to do Control B, which is blank. There's not a business there. You can also use this right here. It says mark the field blank, and it tells you Control plus B is the keystrokes that you can use. So the prefix here, prefix would be like Mr. or Mrs., and this is the grantees, which is over here, grantees, but there's no Mr. or Mrs. on there. So I'm going to do Control B, and then the given name, and I can say Jeffrey Wilcox. Again, a corporation, this might be a corporation instead of a person's name, and then you put Control B here, the blank, so Control B. The deed year, here it is right here, 1823. Okay, and the month would be June, and it comes up with choices, and I would choose the abbreviation for June. The book or volume. So we can scoot this over here. Let's actually just make this a little bit smaller. And we don't have a book or a volume, but we have a page number. So on this, we can say Control B. We don't page reference number. Now, if we have a question, see, is that this 188 or is that this one right here? And I believe they're asking for this page, 163. There's a little question mark. So you can ask, type the page reference number. It was usually indicated in the record and refers to where the grant information can be found. So that clarifies that it's this one and not the page that we're reading from. So I would put 163. Okay, and this is the grantor's prefix, and I'm going to tell you why it's down here. I'm going to show you because I have done some of these, and you can actually move some of these fields around. So you take this and grab this, and I could put it up here in front of that. So there is grantor's prefix, their name, and their surname. So you can move these around, but since most of the ones I've done, there's not a Mr. or Mrs., I have moved it down to the bottom, so it's kind of out of the way. And here's the deed day, and it doesn't give us the actual day, it just gives us the month. And year, so we're going to put in Control B. And we have 50 entries that were allowed here, so now I'm going to move to the next one. I've got that one completed. It moved for me. But if I wanted to go back, I could click back here, and that way I could say, oh, I made a mistake. You can always go back and forth using these little arrows. So let's go to entry 2. So there's no prefix, and then I can move this down, and I would follow what we just did and continue through. Now I want to show you a few other things. I was helping somebody index a long time ago, and she had indexed, it was census records, and got down to the bottom and realized that she had missed somebody. And she said, I did not want to go back and re-index everything all over again. Well, you can actually put in a new entry somewhere in the middle if you need to add one. So I want to go through this toolbar right up here. This is open quality control. That's at the end. They ask you questions, and if you get near the end, you can actually ask them to open it. This is to submit the batch. Right here is that mark complete, or mark the field blank. And this one is that it's unreadable, that there might be something and you can't read it. Now if it's just something you're not sure if it's one letter or another, do the best that you can, but put something in, or put in part of what you can read, and then a question mark for the part that you cannot. But if you just simply can't read any part of it, but you know that there's something there, you can mark it unreadable. Now, add an entry. This is what I was telling you. So if you get to somewhere down the line you realize, oh, I missed one, you can go back to near that entry and add an entry into your fields there. And sometimes you might have one and you found out, oh, I did it twice, and you don't want to start with the other ones and redo it, so you can just delete that entry. Now here, let's see if I can keep that up. There it is. Copy text from the same field on the previous entry. So if I click that one, let's go down here to this given name. If I was to click that, you would see that I had typed in Alan. And sometimes you have the same words that carry over, and so you can say, hey, I typed that in, it was the same name as before. So you can click on that. I'm going to take that off since it's not the same. And this one is copy text from the selected field into the following matching fields. So let's say if I knew that all the dates were 1823, so on the year, deed year, and I was down here and I knew that every field was going to be 1823, then I could click this and it would put 1823 through all 50 of these entries, and I wouldn't have to retype that. It really can save a lot of time if you have things that follow through. Copy text from the previous entry into a selected entry. So this one is, if we click on that, it's going to do the whole page instead of just that one entry. Okay, and so I'm going to take these off here. I'll go on with these other things. So here's handwriting examples. So let's say you see something and you're not sure. You can pull this up and you can maybe do some comparisons here, and then you can just click the little X off. Share a batch. So let's say you're having problems and you really just are really struggling with this, but you know there's somebody who might be able to help you. You can click this and it gives you this information right here. You can copy that or this code, and you can send it to somebody else, and then they can look at the batch and help you. And so you could call Salt Lake, or you could call your ward consultant and ask them for help, and then they might be able to give you advice on what to do. Here are international characters, so if something comes up and they've got an international character, you can use one of those characters. See if you can find it. If you have questions on the batch that you're doing, here's the instructions. This is how to find it and get help there. Some of these are also up here, so project instructions, so you can find that here. Here's basic indexing guidelines. So let's say you're kind of lost and you say, hey, I just need to know some basic guidelines. Here's keyboard shortcuts, help resources, open a shared batch, so if somebody sends you a batch, or here's the other one where you want to share a batch again, and then labs, and I'm actually not sure what the labs is. You can explore that. Okay, let's go over here to data entry. So we can change, we've got it on form entry. Let's do table entry. We'll click on that one. And it's not allowing me to do the table entry on this batch here. Oh, there it just took a little while. So you can see that it changes it up here. So that might be easier for you because it's laid out in the same, kind of the same format as it is here. Okay, and let's try the custom entry, or column entry. Okay, and that's going down and just doing this column right here. And then I would change over and do the grantor's corporation, and that would be control blank. So you can see that's one where it would be the same all the way through, because there are no, you can quickly look down and see that there's no corporations. Okay, and then row entry. So this is similar to that table entry where it's by the rows. I'm going to go back up here to form entry. So that puts it back. This is what it normally comes up to. And then here's the batch. It tells about the batch. Quality check, submit the batch, return a batch. Now, sometimes you say this is just too hard, you can return it. And there's not any problems with returning it. Just return it and somebody else will get the batch and work on it. And if you want to go back to web indexing and find a different batch, you can go there, and then there's the settings. So I hope that helps you feel a little bit more comfortable in doing the indexing, and I wish you luck. The best way to begin indexing is to work with someone else who is indexed. Do 1 or 2 batches with this other person and then try to see if you can do it by yourself. Remember, there is batch sharing so that someone else can see the batch on their computer and help you if needed. Remember that you are not the only one indexing these records, so if you make a mistake, it will likely be corrected. Go ahead and give it a try.